Every single time a new game drops, it's literally the same cycle. It's hyped up. We, as the consumer, anticipate this game being the best game ever, or we have certain conditions that need to be met. Then it releases. The floodgates open. There's bugs, graphical issues, mechanic problems, games crashing, clipping through the roof happening, characters missing. You name it, those things happen. Also, reviewers get codes early, and then they have this review of a game that a day one patch is coming out, and all of a sudden, us as a consumer see this game and all the bugs that have been in their experience, and then we say, forget it, we're not buying that game. But we could be missing out. That's another option. But why do we complain so much about video games? Like, are games getting worse, or are we just harder to please? So let's start with the obvious here. Expectations versus reality. We live in a time where cinematic trailers and over-the-top marketing, developers have these promises for us, and often what we get is a little less polished. There's no denying that games have released missing tons of content or mechanics or simply how the game looked in a trailer or even in some of the gameplay impressions that the developers threw out there. So sometimes we do have a valid reason, like Cyberpunk, to expect more. There's games that have released like Suicide Squad, Warner Brothers, a huge publisher, and it released and people were beside themselves because it was an absolute piece of trash game. So I can contest that that game, although maybe fun for an hour or two here and there, literally had no soul. And if a game doesn't have a soul, that's a big, big problem. But here's the deal. If a game launches with bugs, those missing features we talked about, and literally lies to us or falls short on the promises, then backlash is not only valid, but inevitable. And then we can talk about pre-orders and limited editions. Some limited editions are costing $200 to $250. We pay up front based on the trust that we have for a developer like BioWare, like Rockstar, like we mentioned, like Bungie, you name it, those big names, we expect a lot. Well, then you're going to hear everything about it on Reddit and Twitter and every single game forum imaginable. And it's like ordering a gourmet meal and getting a soggy microwave dinner instead. That's exactly how it is. More than a handful of games from huge AAA developers that have released recently in the past 5 years that have absolutely bombed and fell flatter in their face. You have games like I already mentioned, Suicide Squad. You had Anthem, absolute disaster. Starfield, which people can say, okay, I played it, I had fun, but Bethesda, what were you thinking? Skull and Bones, Redfall, Battlefield 2042. These are games that released that literally, besides Battlefield 2042, because that is still being played and you can have some fun with that, but at launch, I mean, the other games that I'm mentioning here, like really, really did not do well, and gamers were just simply not happy. Now, eventually I'll get to Destiny 2, so you're going to have to deal with me rambling a little bit more about just gaming in general. And then it also comes down to gamers that have their own preference. We all have our own preferences, and that goes the same with where we shop, where we go to eat, what movies we like to watch, what shows we like to watch, what we like to do for fun. But one gamer's dream feature is another's deal breaker. So if a game prioritizes story over gameplay, the hardcore players will complain. If it's the reverse, the narrative lovers are upset. And let's not even start on graphics versus performance debates. There are times where we definitely have the right to also complain about graphics and performance. So if a game is being marketed as 4K and ray tracing, but it's completely locked to 30 frames a second, then that is a real big no-no in 2024 for a lot of gamers. PC gamers know out there that they wouldn't even go back to a console if that was the case. Why would they go back and play it on console when their PC can run the game in unlimited frames per second? So as a console player, and I also am a console player, I am a PC player, that type of marketing is a tough pill to swallow, because the expectation now, at least for me with the next gen system, is that 60 frames a second is the standard. Now, if you need to go down in graphical fidelity to get there, I guess it's okay considering that there's upscaling, but the upscaling definitely needs to be effective and needs to look good. There's games that I have played, and I'm not complaining totally here, but there's games that I played where, the graphical fidelity, I guess, drops all the way down to 800p, and I didn't even know it. But you're hitting 60 frames a second. To me, that doesn't seem like a sacrifice that should be made in 2024. Then there's what we call the internet effect. Social media amplifies every single gripe. A single bug will snowball into a meme. Posts like that catches on to thousands of people will literally turn a game into a completely negative experience. We love to be heard, and gaming complaints often feel like a way to connect with others who share the same frustrations. Now, there's nothing wrong with talking about how you feel. You just want to make sure that it's completely valid. But then there's people that literally seem to hate video games. They play games for thousands of hours, and then they just say that this game absolutely sucks. Well, I guess I'm just not really following the fact that how have you played a game for 3, 4, 5,000 hours? Do the math on how many days that is. And then you turn around on somebody who's new, maybe playing the game for the first time, and you say, this game sucks. Well, like, why does it suck? Can you back up your points of the first question is, how did you put so many hours into a game and then say this game sucks? Clearly the game didn't suck for 5,000 hours. So that idea, that way of thinking, I am not sure where that comes from. I understand you can be upset with what a developer is doing, especially in a game that has been out since 2017, like Destiny 2. I'm sure after that much amount of time, you have a lot to say about what you saw throughout the lifespan of the game. But what are you complaining about? So be specific of why this game sucks, because at some point it obviously didn't suck. So again, I promise we talked about Destiny 2, and I will get to it in a second and try to make this all sort of tie in together. I'm not sure how that's going to happen, but so why else do we complain about new video games? It's definitely a mix of expectations, nostalgia, passion. We're not just consumers in the end of the day. We're fans of gaming. I myself love to sit down and just play a video game for what it is. I don't actually care what a reviewer says about the game, especially if they received a code early. I usually don't read a ton online on Reddit forums, even though some of those can be a blast to read through. But ultimately, I'm buying a game based on the importance it is to me. So like, is it a developer that has put out games in the past that have been great? For example, Batman Arkham Knight. So for me, Suicide Squad was a must buy. I love what Rocksteady has done previously. So for me, developer credibility made a difference in that purchase, if that makes sense. So when they don't deliver, that's an issue for me. Then I, in my own right, just like everybody else, can critique and discuss my dissatisfaction for what just happened. And you can say that, oh, that was 9 or 10 years ago. Those developers don't work there anymore. Well, you still have the name on the fucking game. So if it says Rocksteady, if it says Bungie, if it says BioWare, I don't give a fuck if Bob and Terry are gone and John and Jerry have taken over. The game has expectations based on developer credibility, is what it is. You can disagree or not, but it seems pretty clear to me. So Destiny 2, and the only reason why I am focusing on Destiny 2 here is because this is a game that I'm playing. This is a game that has been praised, criticized, you name it. People have said and done everything with Destiny 2. People are happy, people are pissed off, people don't play this anymore, they come back and play it.
Stop bitching!
They never play it, they talk shit about it. They played it, they keep playing it, they talk shit about it. There's so many different sides of this. It's not one and two sides and someone in the middle. It's 4,000 different sides of all these different people who are talking about the game and playing the game or not playing the game or whatever it is. And it's wild to me. So the facts are, this game has been out since 2017. People have played this game since 2017 until 2024, almost 2025 now. And they love the game, they hate the game sucks, the game's great, you name it, they've said it. But I am now experiencing this game. I have put out many videos about the experience so far. I am solely, or not solely, but I am really focused on story and lore. Obviously mechanics, progression systems, etc. But the story and lore of this of Destiny is so deep, is so valuable, it's so significant and important and entertaining and interesting that I really want to get my claws into it. I don't know why I did that. Claws into it and find out as much as I can. Now, people have mentioned Biff. I have yet to check him out, but the fact that there's a YouTuber and content creator out there that actually does deep dives into the lore is absolutely amazing. So clearly, there's a love for this game because there are so many people that are invested in the lore side of it that isn't even mentioned in the game. Like that is something that's an intangible positive that I wish I could spend a whole video, maybe I will, just talking about the mindset of a Destiny player when they're, experienced, they played a ton, and then they're still learning about the Traveler. They're learning about the origins of Destiny. They're trying to get better. They're trying to do builds. Like it's clearly that deep of a game.
Free will. Then there is no reason I should not reach inside, tear out the light for myself, and leave this system in ashes.
Only those the Traveler chooses will be reborn in the light.
Yes. This I know. This is why I have claimed your planet, and why you still live. The Traveler will choose me, Speaker. And you are going to tell me how.
Now listen, I'm not here to defend Bungie. I'm here to play the game that's available. A lot of people are complaining that this isn't free to play, that you have to pay for this game. So you don't have to pay full price for this game. This game has been on sale 4 times since I started playing 2 months ago. So you can get the entire package of this game, minus the dungeon keys, for about $70. That's the full price of a game. The Witch Queen alone, from what I hear, is going to give you, 8 to 10 hours of the campaign plus content? Like there are, for the casual gamer, 100 hours plus of gaming that you can play. So how has this game managed to captivate millions of people? It's taken into account that there's so many, millions of players across the globe for years. So we need to look at that. What is actually happening here? So let's talk about the world building. Destiny 2 is not just a game. It's literally an entire universe. The last city alone is such an impressive place to call home, where the tower is, where those NPCs are, like Zavala and Ikora and Cade. The caverns of the moon, the vibrant gardens of Nessus, every single location feels alive. The lore is hiding around every corner. It's not just a shooter, it's a journey through a galaxy that is deep with history and mystery. So we can talk about the gameplay for hours on end. In my opinion, this is one of the best first-person shooter games that exists. The gunplay is phenomenal. It literally sets the gold standard for how a shooter should feel. Whether you're landing precise headshots, which I am really bad at doing, with a hand cannon or unleashing chaos with a rocket launcher, grenade launcher, whatever heavy weapon you want to use, every single weapon has weight, it has power, it has satisfaction. Bungie's mastery of FPS mechanics should be praised. There's no arguing that. Then there's the power fantasy of this game. So I think it's something that's probably not talked about enough, but you're not just this playable character, you're a guardian. And the first time your guardian speaks in a cutscene, your mind is blown. It is so amazing because you've been waiting for the guardian to say something, and when he does, it's so impactful. It's like that friend that says nothing, and then once they say something, it's like, oh my God, we need to listen to what John is saying. The supers, the special abilities, it makes every fight feel dynamic. Now listen, I am not good at this game. I've only played about 50 hours. That is nothing in this community. 50 hours is absolutely nothing for this game. But it's enough to kind of understand where we're headed and how long I can actually play this game. And it empowers you to take on all these different enemies like a true legend, right? So your guardian, you feel like you're the guardian, if that makes any sense. And for me, I'm nowhere near that. I'm still in Shadowkeep at this point after 50 hours. I don't know what the hell I've been doing, but then you have an actual end game. You have raids, You have Vault of Glass, Last Wish, Deepstone Crypt. You had all these raids, stuff from Destiny 1 that's actually incorporated into this game, especially with strikes and some raids. You have dungeons for 3 players, raids for 6, and it's truly magical. I've played the Shattered Throne dungeon, and people said that that's like the easiest and maybe not even the most fun. I had so much fun in that game playing with my friend and friends that I am so excited to continue playing this. So like I have no complaints about that. That was one dungeon. And then they have the raids that obviously combine challenging mechanics, teamwork, and these like amazing skyboxes and locations that are just incredible that they were even put together. And it creates experiences that few games can actually match. So I haven't done this yet, but I'm guessing, and from what I've been hearing from other people, is like completing a raid isn't just about the gameplay. It's about figuring out the mechanics, the puzzles, and then once you're done, it's almost like a rite of passage. Like you completed that specific raid, and not only are you rewarded in game with loot, but you now have this connection to your fire team or maybe your clan or whatever group that you're playing with to be like, yeah, we did that raid together and we did it in this amount of time, and we had so many epic moments that I can't find another game. And then people complain about the Crucible. Like, I understand PvP is a very sensitive subject. A lot of people either really love it, really hate it. There's not much in between. So I am actually a player that really likes PvP, and I understand, understanding some of the history where Bungie pretty much not abandoned, but didn't focus on the PvP aspect of it because it's not making them their money, more or less. If you really understand what's going on there, they didn't release maps for many years. Then they released a few recently. But I'm going to say that when I'm playing those Crucible matches and actually playing Iron Banner right now, I think it's a lot of fun. Now, I know there's metas and you have to use certain guns, or you should, but I really don't care about any of that. I went into some of my matches and actually came out on top or second place. And then whatever they're doing for skill-based matchmaking or whatever the hell they're doing for lobbies, the second match does turn into a sweaty lobby and I finished dead last and I don't know what the hell's going on. So that definitely takes away some of the fun, but it is what it is at this point, I guess. But to me, playing with a group of friends, if you can, especially in a local match, that's a blast. People complain about the Eververse store, that there's so many microtransactions in this game. Well, I haven't bought one thing from the store yet, and I've had tons of rewards happen during regular gameplay, and then I'm earning Bright Dust to pick up all these amazing looking shaders. And let me just tell you that the fashion in this game, the drip, is so good. It's so good. There's so much variety, especially with the transmog system, with the shaders. I'm actually excited every time that I get a shader, especially during gameplay. But the Eververse store that's rotating weekly, and then Ada is rotating weekly. There's all these different ways to get shaders and cosmetics using Bright Desk from just literally playing the game, that I really can't sit here and complain about microtransactions because I haven't bought anything and I don't need to right now. If I want to, I will, but I'm probably not going to do that. But the shaders, they're great. I'm not sure if there's a real point to all of this, and I'm not even sure how gaming in 2024 and Destiny 2 kind of tie in together. But what I can say in closing is this: games are here for us to have fun. Do we need to get caught up in every single aspect of the release of a video game? You can if you want. Like, if you enjoy doing that, sure. But if it's going to piss you off, why are you wasting your time? Why are you wasting your time doing that? Especially if you have like Game Pass or something like that where the game is included anyways. But for me, I'm going to research how I want to research. And I have a certain way that I do that. And that's not listening to early reviews on YouTube. It's not by watching and listening to Reddit forums or people talk about what they expect or what they heard. I am going to take this game for what I feel it's going to be. And if I make a decision and buy the game and it's disappointing, then it is what it is at that point. I can talk about that, but I want to make informed decisions from sources that I find credible or just by kind of what I see in general. So gaming's here to be fun. Like, just remember that. Like, there's not much fun complaining about everything. There's not much fun like worrying about what Bungie is gonna do, because Bungie is a $1 billion company. Like, we're not in these conversations to have them make decisions. There's developers like Digital Extremes from Warframe that they do listen to their community, but again, Digital Extremes is the company, okay? We're the player, we're the consumer. So they're going to do what they're going to do regardless of how they feel it's going to set them up on track to make money, to be viable and remain top of mind in the field or in this market for a long time. So Bungie decided to vault content. That pisses a lot of people off, and rightfully so, especially if you paid for content back in the day. I completely get that. There's all these different reasons. I've heard of why they did it. File size and locations are gone and whatever it may be. Like, I understand that, but I do believe that they should have found a way to keep that in the game.
This burrito is delicious, but it is filling.
Because that did piss a lot of people off, and I'm sure that didn't sit well. And I'm sure that's where a lot of the animosity and kind of pain points exist, especially with Bungie. But again, remove that from the game. There's still so much content in this game, and it's a lot of fun. It's the most fun I've had in quite some time. There's so much variety that you can just get caught up, literally, playing the Crucible for days on end, or just like roaming around different open world environments, doing patrol missions and finding different secret Easter eggs and all this kind of stuff. Or, you know, maybe you're going for a certain weapon, but I don't feel like it's the grindiest game out there, and I appreciate that. I feel like, well, Destiny 1 was a game that Bungie did not waste your time. I don't feel like Destiny 2 wastes our time. Like, maybe there's certain things that I haven't experienced yet, but at around the 50-hour mark, I don't have that many gripes, except for maybe the Guardian rank system. I think they should fix that because it doesn't really line up with someone who wants to play the story. But anyways, point is, gaming is in a very, very weird spot. It's so fragile. So as a consumer, as a gamer, your goal should simply to be have fun. Have fun, meet some people, play the games, or don't play them. It's your decision to not play the game too. If a game is absolute crap and you see gameplay footage after it's come out for weeks on end, then odds are it's probably not going to be the best experience for you unless you're a hardcore die-hard fan. But ultimately, play the game to have fun. Enjoy playing the games you love. And that's really it. So thanks for listening. I know this is a lot of rambling and ranting. See you next time.